I'm Moira McPartlin and I am the Federation of Writers Scotland Scriever for 2022. And this morning I am introducing to you the first Industry Insider interview. The Industry Insider interviews, I am hoping to bring you practitioners from the book industry to talk to us about their practices and see if in some way they can help you in your own writing business. So I'm delighted this morning to welcome Caroline Deacon, book blogger, and I call her a social media guru because she seems to be able to do everything. Caroline has had a very varied career. She's worked as a waitress, a chambermaid, soft toy stuffer, a swimming pool attendant and a ski guide. She's sold coffee, cakes, jewellery and life insurance and spent 2 weeks decorating Father Christmas's house. So if we've got time, we might find out about that. But at heart, she's always been a writer. After university, she's a journalist. And when she had children, Caroline went freelance, working for various magazines, websites, as well as writing, editing and contributing to many non-fiction books. She now works in children's writing and believes books have to have a heart. She likes outdoors, mountains, seasides, forests, but also cities, especially old buildings with stories to tell. She's involved in the Scottish writing community and for several years run the Highland Literary Salon and is currently a board member of Moniach Moore. Caroline now lives in Edinburgh and her agent is Fraser Ross Associates. So welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. That's a nice intro.
And the Federation of Writers. So first off, can you tell us just a little bit more about your writing background and also about your blog and newsletter that you have?
Yeah. Well, I think you said quite a bit about the writing. Basically, after I left uni, I worked for a radical magazine for a few years, which was a great way of learning to write concisely, to write quickly, and to edit yourself and others. But then when the kids were born, I went freelance. So it was about pitching articles. I wrote about everything from skiing to scallops to spiders and snakes. And then I ended up writing mostly about parenting, and the books, the 5 books that I've published have all been about parenting. So as a freelance writer, I always needed a website because I had so much work to showcase. And if somebody wants to, if you pitch something to somebody and they want to commission you, they've got to, the first place they'll look is a website. So I needed someone professional to set it up. And 2 versions ago of the website, because I get it done every few, 5-10 years, 2 versions ago, the web designer said I should blog. And which I'd never heard of. And that was in the early days of blogging. I found I really enjoyed it. The latest version of my website, which I think was done about 3 or 4 years ago, the designer has made the blog part of the site.
Right. And
because before I had a blog and a website, and now the current designer has made the blog part of the site. And the thing about that is it drives traffic to your site. And because of the blog, the website's constantly changing, which keeps your name higher up on search engines. If you have a website, you shouldn't just let it sit there inactive. You've got to find a way for it to be constantly changing. Otherwise, it goes right down the search engines list.
All right.
So that's why the blog's linked to it, and and people visit it. So that means you bump up. So if you Google my name will come up on Amazon, but it will also, my website will come up quite high, and that's because the website's active. Otherwise, it would just sink.
Right.
So that's one thing. And my daughter recently did a master's degree in digital marketing. And she suggested doing the newsletter as a way of telling people when a new blog comes out, because there's no alert on it. It's just people go to it. So you have to drive people to it. So I did that. And being mouthy me, I ended up developing the newsletter into a sort of second blog.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't or wouldn't have done it without her help, but that's how they came about.
I have to say that I really enjoy your newsletter, and I subscribe to lots of newsletters, but yours is about the only one that I read, just because it just seems so relevant. So yeah, it's really good. Can I ask you what platform you use then for your website?
The website is on WordPress.
Oh, it's on WordPress.
It is, but the designer built it on WordPress, so it looks more complicated because there's lots of pages in it, but it is fundamentally a WordPress. And if I really wanted to, I could edit the whole thing. As it happens, I don't. I just edit the bit she's given me, which is the blog, because I'm terrified of screwing everything else up. But it is WordPress. So you could build a website like mine on WordPress.
Oh, that's brilliant. So why do you think it's really important then to have, you've said about, you know, that's the first place that people look when they're trying to find out who you are. But is there anything else that's really important about having a website, or is that the main thing?
Well, you definitely need a website, and you need to keep the website active for SEO, which is search engine optimization, and blogging is a way of doing that. I don't know, I should maybe have checked this before we talked. I don't know if just things like Twitter and Instagram and things would make your website active. I don't think it would, but I've got all those things linked on there.
Right.
So, you know, but yeah, I think you need, if you want a website and say you're pitching to people and they're going to go and look at your website, you want a way for that to be active. So
right.
You can tweak it yourself, you know, just by changing things now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a WordPress website, but it's no way as sophisticated as yours is, and I wouldn't even know how to do. But it's a blog, so it works.
That's the main thing. It doesn't have to be sophisticated; it just has to be active.
Yeah. And
you have to keep posting, and also it's very good if you can do. It's not that important, but on WordPress you can do things like it's like the equivalent of hashtags. You can do keywords.
Categories and tags.
Categories is about, there's keywords that you can put so that they search, but that doesn't happen as much as what's most important is what the title is of the blog.
Right.
If you look at my blog, you'll see quite a few of the titles are sort of a bit wordy, and you think that's not a very punchy title, but actually you want to put keywords in the title, because the search engines will look at the titles.
Oh.
And if somebody search, say for instance, I've got a blog, say top 10, quite a lot of them are top 10. People often search top 10.
Right.
So search engines will be looking for top 10. So if you could put top 10 in your title, they will pick that up. And then, so sometimes I've got things like top 10 sci-fi or whatever. And so again, if somebody's searching sci-fi, they might pick that up. So your title is really important. Having said that, your title must be relevant to the text. You can't just put a long title and then not mention the words you've used in the blog, because Google works that out. It works out. It looks for those words in the text so that you're not cheating, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, I'm a bit out of my depth here, but basically I know that you have to go a good title and you have to use the words in the blog,
right,
for people to find it.
So, and has it been successful then? I mean, to me, your blog seems successful. Do you feel it's successful, or is there more that you could do?
I don't know how you define success on that. I mean, you know, I enjoy doing it. That's the main thing. I get nice feedback, and my mailing list is growing.
Oh, that's good.
So I guess those are measures of success. But in terms of success in, you know, what do I want to achieve? What I want to achieve is, if a publisher's into my book, in something the agent has sent her, that she will look online and find I've got a good presence, and that's what's important.
That's a measure of success.
But you know, I don't know. So,
in terms of other social media outlets, then what would you say that is the best? If you can't have a blog and you can't have a newsletter, what would you say would be the best to sort of invest in? And could you recommend which one to use?
Yeah, and it's important because not everybody wants to do blogs, and if you don't want to do blog and you're not prepared to keep it active, I wouldn't go there, because it's a chore. The same with newsletters. If you start a newsletter, you have to keep it going, and it happens that I enjoy those too. But there's lots of other ways of being active. I mean, there's they used to say it was really important to have a big presence on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And, my previous web designer, not the one now, said I should do an author's Facebook page, which I did with some reluctance, I must admit, and I'm not that fond of it. And I think now Facebook as an author's page, you know, is not that useful, because unless you're prepared to pay ads, it sink it down. So I wouldn't bother with that. Twitter is much more egalitarian, I think.
Yeah.
It's great for finding out what's going on in the writing world, for instance. I also partly got my agent through a Twitter pitch. So you know, things that go on like that.
Right. And there's one coming up, isn't there? There's
that was the one actually that I got. Yeah, was Expo North which is I think actually. yes, I think, I mean, you know, and actually it can be fun. Some people find Twitter quite fun.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a real danger of wasting writing time online.
Uh-huh.
You need to be canny about what you do.
Mhm.
So for me, I never go on social media at random times, but I use a device called Buffer to schedule tweets.
Oh,
There
right.
are, there are other types. There's also TweetDeck is another one that people use.
Right. And how does that work then? You can just sort of schedule
You
tweets?
schedule them, and it's important if you do want to develop an online presence that you need to get the best hashtags for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that you can research that. Also find out when the optimum times for tweets are or Instagram posts with those hashtags.
Right.
And then you schedule your tweets or posts for those times. Right.
And
That,
where do you find that information? And just Google? Google what are the optimum times for these hashtags? Or
I asked my daughter, but I'm sure if you wanted to know and people want to know, I could ask her and we could follow that one up.
that would probably be quite useful. Yeah,
There is probably a way. I mean, she does hashtag research quite a lot and just looks at what's current and what's good and which ones you should use.
right. Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think in terms of how Buffer works or TweetDeck, it's a free software. I mean, you can pay for it if you want to. For free, you can post up to 10, and that's enough for me for a month or a couple of weeks. So I just pick one day a week and Sundays as it happens, and I schedule my tweets. And what I do is I have a sort of pattern. You know, Saturdays is X and Sundays is Y and so on. And then I just put them, and it's kind of fun. It's like a jigsaw almost to save things up. But the important thing is I'm not wasting time going on to Twitter and thinking, oh, what shall I say?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a really efficient way of doing it.
Yeah.
What about Instagram? Do you use Instagram?
I like Instagram. I really like it, but I've only got about 100. I mean, basically it's friends I'm engaging with. My daughter said, if you're going to write for young adults or children, or young adults particularly, you need to use Instagram because that's what they're on. So I've set up an account and I'm doing it and one day when I'm published, when I have YA published, I'll probably use it a lot more. But at the moment, I'm just using Instagram and Facebook to keep up with friends. So it's not strategic. Twitter's more strategic. I've got about 1,500 followers on that.
Wow.
I don't think it means anything really, but I've not had publishers beating down my door on the back of it. But you know, I guess maybe if they looked at my hash, you know, because publishers do look at different things, and they'll say, okay, so she's willing to be active on social media. I mean,
yeah.
You know. But the main thing is you have to enjoy doing what you do. You have to enjoy doing what you choose to do. Don't do it all. Be smart about it. Choose the right times. I enjoy blogging and doing the newsletter. I use Buffer to load up the tweets, and so I'm not distracted. I have in my diary times when to do Facebook, Instagram, and Sundays is my main day. So yeah.
That's great. So if someone any of our viewers wanted to try, say, Twitter or a Facebook, rather than a blog or even a blog, how much technical expertise do you think you need for this?
Well, none really, honestly. I mean, you mean, obviously anybody can set up an Instagram account or a Twitter account. If you can set up a WordPress blog very easily. It's not difficult. The difficult thing is being consistent and keeping the damn thing going. So don't be too ambitious at the beginning. Just start small. If you want to do a newsletter, you know, maybe start with once every 2 months or something.
Right.
I would say for newsletters, you have to do that through a platform like, and I use MailChimp. I think there's other ones. It's not as user-friendly as it could be. So I think it's quite good to get someone to show you how to do it the first time. You can't do a newsletter just by sending out emails. You just can't do that. You have to do it on a platform.
Right.
But once you start something like that and you build up a following, you have to keep it going. So don't be too ambitious, you know.
Right. Well,
the other thing I would definitely say that's really important is that don't use them to promote yourself.
Right.
I don't use any of those platforms to promote myself. You promote yourself by doing it well. So for instance, on Twitter, I would post helpful tips or funny pictures or stuff like that, and then I'll retweet other people. The retweeting is really important
Mhm.
because that's a sort of friendly thing to do, and then people will retweet you, and then they will follow you because you're being helpful and you're saying nice things. If you just put up there, read my book, it's about X, nobody's interested.
Oh, I know, I've seen those tweets.
And also, it's the same with the newsletters. There's a lot of people who send newsletters, and it's just what I did this week, and I think, yeah, mum might be interested in that, but nobody else cares really. You just don't care. Write a newsletter that people will want to read because it helps them.
Yeah.
You know, my blog tends to be things that will be optimized through search engines, like top 10 list of books set in cold climates, or top 10 list of Stephen King books, or something like that anybody would read. The newsletter is always sort of writing advice. So
Okay.
something like how to approach an agent, or how to edit well, or so something like that. And then people will want to read it.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. So you are also a member of the board of Moniac Moor. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Well, could you tell us a bit about Moniac Moor first, in case anyone, although I'm sure most people know what it is, and just in case anyone doesn't know what Moniac Moor is?
Well, it's quite a good question, because actually a lot of people say, oh, that's the Arvin Centre or something, and it isn't.
That's right.
So it's Scotland's premier writing centre. We like to feel that's what we are. It's a fabulous place to visit. It's set in the Highlands, on the top of a mountain, really, in a place called Deacon, but it's really easy to get to. It's only 20 minutes outside Inverness. We used to be affiliated to Arvin, so a lot of what we do is modelled on Arvin, but we went independent. It's well over 5 years ago now, probably getting near 10. That allowed it. We did that because it allowed us to keep our prices lower than Arvin while still offering the same sort of courses. There's two types of things. There's tutored courses on, and that's on everything from songwriting to poetry to long fiction to editing to picture books, and they'll bring in, you know, 2 tutors who are established in their field, and a guest reader as well. And then there are non-tutor retreats where you basically just go and you just write, which is absolute bliss.
Was it just like a retreat?
It is just a retreat. It's just like there's no tutors. You're given your room. There are lots of spaces to go and write. Food is provided. It's just heaven.
Oh, it sounds great. Yeah,
It's such an inspiring place to write, honestly.
Yeah, I have been when it was Avron, but I haven't been since it's been independent. So yeah, it's really.
Definitely go. I mean, I can get 20,000 words written in a week there.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Not saying they're good words, but it is very inspiring.
So what's the role of on the board then? What do you have to do? Is it quite onerous, or?
I mean, it's a charity, so you have to have, and we have, the board of directors is in charge of things like, you know, we're responsible for employment, and we run. I mean, we don't run the place because we've got really, really good staff running it, but we're the people the staff would talk to if they have issues. We would make decisions on pay rises. I mean, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, we're basically if you like. All charities, I think, would do that. Have a board of directors which are in charge of running the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. I hope people are tempted with that. So we're just about at the end of the interview. Is there anything else that you can tell us about yourself, your writing career, Santa Claus, and just any advice at all that you would like to share? Tell us a Santa Claus story. That I would really like to know that.
Well, that's just basically because I grew up in Aviemore, and we used to have a thing in Aviemore called Santa Claus Land. And when it first opened, they got kids like me to get paid, I don't know, 30 pence an hour or whatever the rate was, to go and decorate Santa Claus Land before it opened. It was quite funny. We spent 2 weeks going around hanging. There was a train ride in the middle of Santa Claus's house, which kids would go on. Within 3 weeks of opening, they'd all gone because people had just gone past the train picking them off. That's also where the soft toy shop was. I worked one summer there as stuffing soft toys in a shop in Santa Claus Land. It sounds a bit exotic, but actually it's just, if you grow up in a holiday resort, there's a lot of funny jobs like that, really.
All right, okay. Yeah, I can now see when I see your list of jobs that they would all quite easily fit into Aviemore. Is there anything else then, writing wise, that you'd like?
Just to go back over the points, you know, don't throw yourself at this. start gently and don't overcommit. And once you've committed to it, realize you're going to have to keep doing this. So don't choose something really wacky. For instance, there's one tweet I've started, which is on Saturdays. I do hashtag writing is like, and then I do something like writing is like paddling, or writing is like this. And I'm up to about, I don't know, 20 of them. I think, oh God, what am I going to do next? So I've got to keep thinking writing is like something. It's not easy. So, you know, just be careful what you choose.
Right.
You can drop it after a while. But I'm talking about, you know, if you're doing a newsletter, think carefully about what you want to do, build it gradually, and maybe get someone to help set it up, because it's not that easy at the beginning. But you have to let people sign on and stuff as well.
So that's fantastic. Oh, thank you so much for giving us your time this morning, Caroline. And yeah, it was really fascinating to hear your working practices, and I really hope that the viewers will be able to pick some things out of that and use them in their own writing practices and writing business. This interview has been pre-recorded, so if you want to ask a question to Caroline, because I'm sure, I mean, when we were talking there was lots of questions coming into my mind. So if you've got any questions at all, put them in the comments underneath the video, and I'll take them back to Caroline and she'll try and answer them as best that she can. So that's the first Industry Insiders interview. Bye. Thank you very much for being along with us. Thank you, Caroline, again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.